is all about you.
Baby, it's you, baby, it's you, baby, it's you.
Hello and welcome to the O'Roy Show. Today I have a very special guest, Gary Hardy, who is a children's author and he's written 3 incredible books. Gary, welcome to the show.
Good to be here.
Let's start off with book number 1. Let's see what you got there.
Well, the first one is PJ the Water-Breathing Dragon.
Let me see that. Yeah.
Basically, it's a story about a little dragon who breathes water instead of fire. And it's based in a time where a water-breathing dragon, it was just unheard of. Mm-hmm. So therefore, he got bullied and picked on. It's the age-old story with mom and dad. Dad being the construction worker guy, the tough man's man. Why can't you do what other kids can do?
Yeah.
They were more concerned about what other people would think than supporting. So it made PJ feel really sad.
I see it. It's PJ the Water-Breathing
Right.
Dragon, and being different is a good thing.
Right.
And so book number 2, what's the title on that one?
Petey the Flipper-Toed Dragon. Petey has an extra toe on each foot.
And you have on each one, and being different is a good thing. Book number 3?
Tail is Joe. And we all know dragons have big tails, and he was born without one.
Aww.
And yes, all 3 books basically it's okay to be different, because it's 3-book series stemming from the same problems, written a little differently.
Yeah.
To show the range of different things that kids might get bullied or picked on about.
And that's a big thing still, and I know it's talked about a lot more today than it has been in the past. Bullying is still a top issue and a concern, particularly among even younger kids, and they're different. And so you kind of, was that kind of like your motivation behind writing these books, or?
Well, initially I write poetry, and I became a member of a writer site called fanstory.com, and where you write a piece and you post it and you get feedback. Some of it's fluff, some of it shows you, they tell you about sentence structure and phrasing, but they also sponsor contests. And at one point there was a children's contest, a story writing contest about for children, and that's how PJ became. Mm-hmm. And it was just supposed to be a fun little story, but then as I began writing, it sort of took on a life of its own, and I saw potential for a situation where I could help someone else. Mm-hmm. That may be being bullied, or is the type child who may be subject to being bullied.
Right.
And nothing too heavy, but something that the child could understand. Right. And maybe get something from.
Now you go around and do you read from the books, and you
basically I set up story times, mm-hmm. predominantly during the summer. Over the last couple of years, I think I've done probably 30 or 40 across different areas of Georgia, from Georgia-Florida state line all the way up to Atlanta, yeah. Rome, over on the coast of St. Mary's, Brunswick, just a wide cross-reference of Georgia.
How's the response? I mean, do you get on?
There sometimes I have 1 or 2 kids. My average range is 25 to 40. I've had upwards 105 to 117. I did a story time with just the 2 books, the first 2, PJ and Petey, last November in Atlanta, and I think I had like 117 show up.
So you have like a question and answer?
I do. I have what I call a talking points tool. Mm-hmm. Bullying such a wide, many-faceted area, and my kids that I read to range from 4 to 12, which is also a wide-ranged area of age, and some kids at 4 or 5 may not know what you're talking about when you, well, have you ever been bullied or what is bullying?
Right.
But then, and then they're a little young, and then they may have, even a little older, may not have ever been bullied. But then you have other kids who may know all too well what bullying is. So I want to know where I stand in the beginning of the question and answer. And I usually get a good response there. I've been bullied. Well, what happened?
Yeah.
And then they go into detail and tell me. And then many times, and they may not go into detail, and I certainly don't go into in-depth detail. But at least that has brought this to the attention of teachers, moms and dads, grandparents, everyone who takes them to these events.
Is that still kind of like one of the big concerns, particularly at schools, that teachers tend to look, and I'm not saying all of them, but some tend to look the other way, and because they're having to deal with so many kids at one time, or, you know.
I think that may be a situation there. And I can't say teachers don't care. It
No,
appears
no,
that
right.
way.
Yeah.
It appears that way, at least to the children.
Yeah.
Because you have kids who, I mean, kids will be kids, attitude to a certain degree.
Right.
Or you need to learn to stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
Well, that child may not have the capability or the knowledge or the information they need or the support system they need to do anything about it.
Right.
Because if someone comes up to you and in the bathroom at school and says, pushes you against a wall and give me your lunch money.
Right.
Well, you're afraid you're going to give them your lunch money. Well, that's going to escalate into something else. Well, you go home and talk to Dad. Well, you need to knock him against the wall, or you need to tell a teacher, or any number of things that they may tell you. Or you tell a teacher, well, you need to quit tattletelling. So oftentimes I think those responses add to the fact, add to the idea that teachers don't care or parents don't care.
And so you wrote these books, and just thumbing through them, I mean, they're really interesting. They're designed to be motivators and also to help a child build their self-esteem and, you know, make them feel better about
Right.
themselves, and that being different isn't bad. You know, it's not a
Right.
bad thing. It's just that everybody is different. And that's something we were taught, you know, in the churches and everywhere growing up, is that everyone's different. And yet, while we're having to talk about this issue today, is baffling.
It really is, and you have a lot more of it in the news, and the tragedy is you have these kids who feel like they have nowhere to go, and
Right.
they end up, some of them unfortunately commit suicide, and it's like I did a story time in Cartersville back last year, and I got there early, stopped off at a restaurant, had coffee, and had a little time to kill, so I was looking for different things. So I went into a Michael's and was looking at their crafts. Got to talking to a lady, and about 2 or 3 weeks before I'd came up, a 7-year-old had hung himself. He had been picked on so much that he didn't have, and my first thought was, how does a 7-year-old know anything about that?
Right.
But it was deemed a suicide, and he was 7. And if through some of my programs and my little books, maybe he could have been in one of my story times and, hey, look, I've been bullied or picked on. Maybe Mom and Dad could have picked up on that. And, son, I didn't know you were being picked on, or sweetheart, I didn't know
Right.
this was happening to you. And that is the purpose of the story times and the bullying talk, question, answer before the stories, is if this is going on, let's bring it to the forefront. So maybe you won't have a situation where you have a 7-year-old committing suicide.
Right. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk some more with Gary Hardy about his wonderful books. This is Roy Kirkland with the O. Roy Show. Would you like to advertise your business? support your community, and help promote talented and unique individuals? Well, now you can. Arcadius Media has great rates to fit any advertising budget. Go to our website and contact us today. And remember, it's all about you. We're back with children's author Gary Hardy. We're talking about PJ, the dragon, and the books you've written. Tell me about the differences of the dragons. You know, they weren't normal. You know.
Well, with the instance of PJ, PJ can breathe water. Most dragons breathe fire. He breathes water, and because of, like as I said earlier, because of this difference, he gets bullied and picked on. There's an aspect of family disappointment, but in the story, that along with the bullying and name calling from kids at school, because once they figure out that he can't breathe fire like they can, he gets picked on. So, but this situation was so great that it made him so sad, and he felt like he wasn't worth anything, and he decided one day to just run away from home. Well, in that process, he gets trapped in a thunderstorm, and he thinks, well, I've got to stay dry, so he finds a cave in the side of the mountain and waiting for the rain to stop. But the problem is it didn't stop, it got worse. And this is where the story takes a turn, because while he's waiting for the storm to let up, it obviously gets worse. Thunder and lightning strikes and causes fire to start, and it rushes down the mountainside, threatening his home and his parents. And in a lot of my story times, I ask, well, why did he go back? Because he ultimately makes that decision to go back. And well, he loves his mom and dad, and
Yeah, he wanted
likes
to go
his
home.
village.
Yeah.
And after all, it was a cold and musty cave, and he wanted to go home. So he goes back, and in the story, he decides to go back, but when he gets back, everybody's trying to put out the fire. But when he got there, all the other dragons were trying to put out the fire, but they couldn't because they breathe fire instead of water.
Yeah.
His parents and the others in the village had to be saved. So PJ, no longer afraid, flew about the village, spraying water on the fire until it was out. The village and everyone in it was saved because of PJ's water-breathing snout. He had become the village hero,
Yeah.
and in doing so gave others that were different the courage to say, hey, look, this is what I can do.
Yeah.
And here he is, like Superman. He's putting the fire out. And
So and
it's truly a great story.
yeah, and Petey the flipper toad dragon.
Petey is one of the dragons that saw PJ put the fire out and was inspired by the bravery.
Right.
Petey was born with an extra toe. And
My Chihuahua was born with an extra toe too, by the way. And he's quite special.
Animals and people are sometimes born with extra digits, toes and fingers. I once took care of a little girl who had web fingers. And in that respect, this book can relate to that type of child. And one thing that PJ helped Petey understand is that he is special, and encouraged him to find something within himself that he was good at. And in this instance, Petey could swim, and he knew he was good at it. But because of the name calling and bullying and picking, he had been beat down so much emotionally that he never tried it. So PJ talks him into joining the school swim team. But because of the extra toe, he was faster.
And now we have Tailless Joe.
Tailless Joe. People ask me if this is the same situation as Tailless Joe Jackson, because it is a baseball book. Tailless Joe was born obviously without a tail, and this was fine in the beginning, but of course kids get to school, and learn about their differences, and well, that's not right. He's not, he's
Yeah.
different. He's not worth it.
And I believe that all of us can relate to someone we grew up with, went to school with, and that individual that was really different or something was, and so this really is written in a way to not only just be entertaining, but it's so educational.
Right.
And a lot of times, some of the basic things that you're explaining in these books aren't being taught at home.
Right.
And it's not necessarily the schools that you need to learn about these situations. It's really at home as well.
This is true. And, some of these kids don't have that support system at home, which
Right.
is a sad situation. But then life happens. You have
Yeah.
jobs, you have bills to pay, you have kids to feed, and it's like you need to take care of yourself kind of attitude, because we did.
Yeah.
And sometimes kids can't do that.
Where did the dragon part of the whole situation come from? What made you think of
Dragons?
making him a dragon?
I love dragon tales. But no, I was trying to come up, like I said earlier with that website, I was trying to come up with a fun story.
Right.
And I thought about dragons. And
Yeah, I think it's terrific.
It is.
I mean, everybody loves dragons.
and a lot of kids do. And but I thought about differences that could actually be related to real life situations, like maybe not tales, but people are born without digits.
So, do you have more books in the works?
I
or
do.
more? So you have a series.
This is a series. They come they're written in such a way that you could purchase this book.
Okay.
And you can get
Where
the whole
can
story.
where can we get the books from?
Presently, you can get them on any online bookstore, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million. You could walk in your local Books A Million. Hey, I know this author, Gary Hardy, who writes children's stories. He is on your online website, or you can go in, and I'd like for you to order Petey the Flipper-Toed Dragon for me, because I know it's on your website. And they can get it through there. You can get it through Ex Libris Publishing.
Yeah.
Or they can, I have business cards, and I have a contact information online that they can get a hold of me.
Well, Gary, you're not just a children's author. You're also an RN.
I'm also a registered nurse. I've between LPN and RN, I've been a nurse for almost 20 years, and I work here locally at Smith Northview Hospital. I've been there about five and a half years now.
Good gracious. So that's a great kind of neat thing with you being a registered nurse and children's books, and I mean it just kind of goes hand in hand, really.
It does. First of all, like I said earlier, I'm mandated, so we have to take continuing education classes, spousal abuse, domestic violence, elder abuse, and also child abuse. So you kind of learn, and within your story times, you're looking for those cues or those signs that there may be something more going on, and you try to pull that out. And the books, along with the story times and the question and answer session that I do, the talking points, help bring that out in the forefront. And as you asked me a while ago, I've got 2 series that are in the workings. The second series is about a little boy named Daniel, and he's about 4, and which I'm in the process of that 4th book, which I think it's going to be Daniel and the Closet Monsters. So briefly, he's afraid of his closet,
Yeah.
but he decides that he's 4.
Yeah.
What's behind that door It's not going to hurt him.
Well, listen, when you get those books, you've got to come back on and share those stories with us.
I will,
Yeah.
because it deals with friendship. Because
Yeah.
during the story, he actually plays and becomes friends with these little monsters. Because
Aye.
monsters do exist, but like the story says, they eat, but they don't eat little kids. They eat chocolate chip cookies and milk. And for a 4-year-old, that would be fine.
That's
And
wonderful.
and what it brings out is friendship. You can find friendship with people in the darndest places sometimes.
Children's author Gary Hardy. Gary, thank you so much for being our guest today.
Glad to be here.
And I think this is a fascinating thing that brings attention to a really big issue that is still in existence today, and that's child abuse and bullying. And I hope you come back and tell us more about the new books when they get written. So
Certainly will.
thank
Be
you
glad
so
to.
much, and thank you for watching our show today.
I can lose you forever, baby. It's you, baby. It's you, baby. It's you.
This is Roy Kirkland. Want to be a sponsor on The O'Roy Show? It's easy and affordable. Contact us now, and remember, it's all about you.